So, Certain Women. This is the 5th film by Kelly Reichardt. She is an indie darling. Everybody loves her films. Dougal's always telling me to watch her films. He's like, do you want to borrow this DVD of Wendy and Lucy? I'm like, I'll get around to it.
He actually did lend me a DVD of Wendy and Lucy.
Well, there you go.
Unfortunately, I realised that my new laptop doesn't have a DVD player on it, which is a bit of an obstacle, to be honest.
Yeah, so didn't watch any of her previous films, but have seen her latest one at the London Film Festival with Dougal, in fact.
That means you just skip the early work, see the best stuff, the new mature stuff.
I want to know the new shit. I don't care. Wendy and Lucy, that stuff probably dated.
I don't want to see the works in progress. Just give me the finished masterpiece.
Exactly. So the plot is 3 different tales of certain women. These are all adapted from short stories by the author Mail Malloy, who I didn't know, but apparently she's a big deal. The first is about Laura Dern, who's a lawyer dealing with a cantankerous client, played by Jared Harris, who, despite hiring her, doesn't really respect or acknowledge her legal advice. The second is about Michelle Williams, whose marriage is going through a rough patch and wants to build a holiday cottage out of repurposed materials. And the third is about a Native American rancher played by newcomer Lily Gladstone, who attends this night class about education law taught by Kristen Stewart and starts an odd friendship/infatuation with her. And they're all sort of loosely connected by the fact that it's all set in Montana and they're all women. That's about it. And here's a clip of Kay Stew explaining to Lily Gladstone how she ended up getting the job while in a diner.
I took this job before I finished law school. I wanted any job. I was afraid of my loans coming due. I didn't know where Belfry was. I guess I was thinking about Belgrade, which is a lot closer. So stupid. And I got a real job. And they're letting me do this because they think it's funny. The pass is icy. It takes me 4 hours to get here. It's gonna take me 4 hours to get back. I have to work in the morning. Did you tell me how you ended up in this class?
I just saw people going in.
So this is a film that I enjoyed when I saw it, but I wasn't immediately taken with it. But it has continued to grow on me, and there are some parts of it that didn't particularly work for me, but there's a lot to recommend about it. It's a very slow burn of a film, and it's all about the minutiae of life and everyday internal emotions, and the dramatic stakes and conflicts are low, but it's kind of relative to the film. And by zeroing on these women's lives, small moments take on a big significance. And it's very well structured, and just by having these 3 stories, you automatically compare and contrast them in your brain, and that makes the whole thing a very rich experience, because you start to invest in the movie more so than with whether it was just one character for 90 minutes. It's also beautifully shot. The use of the Montana landscapes is really effective, and as it's about emotional, internal lives, the landscapes do a good job of sort of externalizing that. And it really sells the idea that everyone is in their own movie. And the Certain Women title is almost ironic, because it's like Certain Women is like, I've picked these characters to follow, but also it could have been any women anywhere, and I would have made something as dramatically interesting. It's a very feminist movie, I think. I don't know. It was made by... I don't really know what feminism is.
It's just whatever women do.
I'm always terrified that
women do something about women, it's feminist.
I'm always terrified that I think I'm woke and I'm going to claim something's feminist, and an actual feminist will explain while I'm just,
yeah, Anita Sarkeesian is just going to do a video on how your review is bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. I'm terrified of women calling me out for not being a feminist. Does that make me a feminist?
They're just, there's nothing more feminist than being terrified of what women think of you. That's the ultimate white
exactly.
knight.
I live in fear.
That's what male allies are like. Just scared of women all the time.
Exactly. The performances by the 4 leads are all brilliant, and they're all doing different things, but in a similar way, they're all doing a lot with very little. And the film reminded me of this criticism I heard about Wes Anderson movies, and it was something along the line that Wes Anderson movies are like an event with a film around it, and his films are about the aftermath of things, particularly the early ones. And even though this stylistically couldn't be any more different from a Wes Anderson film, there's something similar in that it's all about people reacting to a much bigger thing, and it's all about the conversations, the silences and the pauses contain more meaning than the actual dialogue, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the actors really do a brilliant job of conveying this. Laura Dern and Michelle Williams are always brilliant, and they're brilliant in this. Kristen Stewart, I haven't really seen her other meaty, mysterious actress roles since she quit.
Say, like, she's really carving out a little niche for herself. In
Both
this
her and
business.
Arpats are sort of seeking out interesting, cool auteurs to work with, and she is really, really good in this. I'm only comparing this to Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1. That's the last film I saw her in.
Well, that is one of the best films of all time. So.
On reflection, that is an incredible performance. But she does a really good job of being convincingly normal, if you know what I mean. Like, all the actresses, they're all like these beautiful movie stars. And it's a bit like, I remember we were discussing how Matt Damon was supposed to be the role in Manchester by the Sea, but like Matt Damon cannot play a janitor. The guy's huge.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Whereas Kristen Stewart, it's not that she's like, oh, she's just an actress who's wearing an unflattering jumper. She completely commits to the role and carves out this totally believable character. And the whole thing is done with such hyperrealism, and the actors really convey that. And Lily Gladstone is amazing in it. She's almost like, she epitomizes the approach of the movie in that she has probably the least dialogue and the most internal emotional struggle going on, and she's just one of those people who's like just stick a camera on and you're like, what's Lily Gladstone thinking about?
Well, I watched the trailer for this only, and I was already half in love with Lily Gladstone based on her
She's awesome.
little diner scenes.
I did have some niggles with the film, Sam.
Sure.
Maybe I'm just a misogynist, but I hated all the women. No, it's a bit weird in that like half the strength of the movie is the fact that you compare them, and that makes you invest in the movie more. But also, I think it's very easy to rank the quality of the 3 short stories.
Yeah.
And the Michelle Williams plotline, I think, is the least content-filled. It's not just that the internal struggle is not as interesting, it's just that there's literally not that much going on in terms of the actual plot. And the film is sometimes a bit too subtle for its own good, I think, and there's perhaps a fine line between the scene being about what's not being said and just nothing much is actually being said completely. But it's a very thoughtful and open-ended movie, and I think it invites you as an audience to get involved with it. I've read a few glowing reviews, and the sort of film which is so, which has so much faith in the audience to work it out that you can like it and like read these reviews and like, maybe it is a masterpiece. And as I was reading them, I was like, I'm just an idiot. This is a masterpiece. You've convinced me, Little White Lies. It wasn't quite that for me. I think it's just very strong, and there are moments where I think it borders on the self-indulgent a little bit.
Yeah.
But the acting is so damn good, and it finishes strong. The best story is the last one.
Well, that's good. That helps.
Yeah. So, well worth a watch.
My favourite film stars Bridget Bardot. She's the queen, but she wants to be in radio. So she starts a podcast with her friends, and the terrorists try to stop her, but she beats them in the end.